Our modest New England town was blanketed in a pure white covering of snow following a strong night's snowfall. As I stood by the chilly window, holding a hot cup of tea, I watched the early January light shed a gentle glow over the streets. The calm outdoors was peaceful, even heavenly, and reminded me of how quiet certain aspects of my life had been since Paul's departure. My ex-husband Paul departed, leaving me and my son Sam to start a new life together. Sam was just 4 years old when Paul departed. It wasn't easy, but Sam and I did it. He became my rock and greatest source of pleasure. Sam was developing his own personality now that he was 21. I was thinking about how to avoid thinking about my objectives, which were too huge for this little town. The sound of footsteps coming down the stairs jolted me awake. They were steady and confident, exactly like Sam felt about himself these days. He went into the kitchen, wearing jeans and a knit jacket, with his camera slung over his shoulder. Even on a frigid January morning, he smiled brightly. He murmured, "Good morning, Mom," and leaned in to kiss my cheek. His beard had grown back, which was a modest indication of how much he had grown. I said, "Good morning, sweetheart. Where are you heading so early?" He spoke excitedly about the lake. "After it snows, the light is beautiful, and I want to photograph it before it changes." I nodded, filled with joy. Sam has always noticed beauty in minor details that others would overlook. This is why his photos seem to convey tales rather than just depicting events. "Do you need to chat to someone?" To my own amazement, I inquired. I generally let him work on his paintings alone, but today I felt compelled to join him. His eyes glowed with glee. "Really? Would you join me?" I grinned and said, "Of course. I haven't seen the lake in the winter for a long time." We dressed warmly to shield ourselves from the cold and headed out. We went through the snow-covered streets, and the chilly air stung our flesh, even though the lake wasn't far away. The stroll made me contemplate and feel peaceful. The scene as we approached the coast stole my breath away. The pale sky and barren trees around the lake resembled a mirror. Frost clung to the trees, making them sparkle like gems in the early morning sunlight. Sam swiftly put up his camera and adjusted it to get the greatest image. I was attracted in by the intensity of his gaze and the way his hands moved with expertise and feeling. I noticed echoes of Paul at those times, not the guy who broke up with us, but the dreamer I once loved. "Mom," Sam's voice drew me back into the present. He gave me a little grin and tilted his head. "Are you okay?" I murmured as I brushed snow off my coat, simply thinking, "Every time I see you at work, I think of your father." I was astonished that when Paul was mentioned, Sam did not respond negatively. He didn't mention him very frequently, but tonight his expression softened. "Do you miss him?" he asked. Before nodding, I considered it, "Not always as you imagine. I grieve for the family we were intended to be and could have been, but I'm okay with how things turned out. It allowed me to spend more time with you." When Sam glanced at me, I didn't feel the need to say anything. After getting near, he put down his camera and hugged me. I could feel his warmth through my garments, and for the first time in a long time, I felt completely protected. He responded quietly, "I am glad it is just us. I wouldn't alter anything about it." I felt tears well up in my eyes, but I wiped them away fast. I answered in a whisper, "Neither would I." We waited by the lake until the sun rose and the snow and frost had melted. Sam captured everything. There was a shimmer of light on the ice, a delicate ripple in the lake where the ice touched the beach, and faint fox tracks running through the woods. I discovered something extremely significant while watching him operate. Sam was no longer simply my child. He was an adult with his own aspirations, but I knew the bond we had would always exist, no matter where his dreams led him. I smiled at him as we went home. "Sam," he said, "yes. Make a promise. Anything. Always seek beauty in the world. That is what we need more of." He grinned, and his breath formed little clouds in the chilly air. "Mom, I swear I won't." As we went through the snow, I felt something different. I felt as if spring had silently entered the globe. and a warmth had blossomed inside me. "Do you know?" Sam began by giving me a sneaky grin and staring at me. "Now I see why my photos haven't received much attention recently." Sam spoke out, and his tone was serious. I cocked my head in attention at what he said all of a sudden. He came to a halt, raised his camera, and aimed it directly at me. The finest topic for me has always been there in front of me. He continued with a grin. As I chuckled, I brushed off the snow that had adhered to my coat. "Do you mean me?" "Not really. Sam, I am not what you would call attractive." He did not respond straight away. Before I could respond, he snapped a photo. He eventually informed her, "That is where you are wrong. You are a wonderful person. It isn't about having flawless skin. It is about going to someone's heart. How about you? You're fantastic." My cheeks became crimson, but it wasn't from the cold. That was what he said. "You're aware of your ability to utilize words effectively, right?" I responded, trying not to sound offended. He flashed a humorous grin. He jokingly said that was part of the beauty. The jokes did not stop there. As we went back to his home, he continued to take photographs and make fun of things by saying foolish things and telling me jokes that only the two of us knew. When we arrived at the home, I was so delighted that my face ached, but in the finest way. As we came in, his boots landed on the hardwood floor. He said, "I can't wait to show you these," I teased, removing my scarf and hanging it beside the door. "I believe you'll like them, but only if I get to approve the adjustments first." As he walked upstairs, he gave me a strange expression. "Don't be surprised if things go better than you expected," he urged again. As I cleaned up, I couldn't help but giggle to myself. The love from our chat was still present. Sam, as usual, did not come down for the remainder of the day. He became immersed in his creative world. Soft music and the clicking of his camera might sometimes be heard coming from his room. He was clearly focused on what he was doing. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee awoke me the next morning. I stretched carefully, not wanting to leave the warmth of my covers for the chilly January air. As I considered lying in bed a bit longer, the door opened with a creak. Sam stood there holding a package containing a hot cup of coffee, a muffin with a candle on top, and a tiny pot of flowers. He murmured, "Happy birthday, Mom," in a quiet voice filled with affection. "Sam," I breathed. As I sat up, trying to fight back tears, my heart overflowed with emotion. "You did not need to do this." He placed the tray on my lap and said, "Of course I did. You deserved it." He sat on the side of the bed, watching me sip coffee and turn out the light. It turned out precisely the way I wanted it. The deed was important, thus it made the day seem special even before it started. The hours passed swiftly since they were filled with smiles and calm moments. By the evening, the home had returned to its usual quietness. The serenity and quiet prompted me to cuddle up on the sofa with a book. I didn't hear Sam's footsteps down the stairs until well before midnight. He entered the living area holding a sleek black box. His face was blank, but his eyes were full of delight. He stopped in front of me and said, "Mom, I have one more treat for your birthday." I set down my book and smiled at him. "Sam, you have already accomplished a lot today." "What's this?" He said, "Open it and see." However, his tone was lighthearted. I raised the top to see what was within and found layers of thin tissue paper. Inside, there was a lovely pair of black underwear and a satin robe that was almost too silky to touch. I wasn't sure what to say as I glanced at it. "Sam," I started, but my voice was trembling. "This is wonderful." He cut her off with a big smile. "There is more. Put it on and get up." Believe me, I was unsure what to do about his plea, so I waited, but the excitement in his voice was infectious. I had the guts to say yes, and then I carried the package to my room. Once I got clothed in the robe and underpants, I walked up the stairs, frightened and thrilled. I was stunned as I pushed open his door. The bulbs in the cloth covering them provide a gentle crimson glow around the space. A sleek metal pole stood in the center of the room. In the corner, A machine was producing small wisps of smoke. A sleek and stylish black leather cat mask sat on a table nearby. He stared at me, holding the camera in his hand. He addressed her in a nice, honest tone. "You look great." He then handed me the mask and said, "Put it on. Things will appear much better in photos." Even though I wasn't sure, his grin helped me feel better. "Just for fun," he murmured softly. "You have always been quite helpful to others. I will do this for you." I took a big breath, put on the mask, and stepped towards the red light. The room was filled with cheerful music, and the rhythm got everyone moving. I felt strange at first, but Sam's compliments and laughter soon helped me feel better. He patiently guided me and caught moments that were both enjoyable and inspirational. He dropped the camera for a while and said, "You're a natural. You're fantastic. I doubt you are aware of this." Being open with me threw me off guard. When I peered into his eyes under the red light, I felt something shift. There was more to this than parties and photographs. It was all about getting near. I completely trusted him as the night progressed, letting go of my concerns and just enjoying the moment with the crimson light and gentle cloud from the smoke machine. The pounding of the music filled the space. I was overwhelmed with delight and discovered bits of myself. I had forgotten about it for a long time. Sam paused and gave me a serious look. "I believe you're fantastic." He said that his voice included a respectful tone. "All of your confidence is concealed someplace." I shook my head, laughing. "Hide it." "Dear Sam, this is not a typical Thursday night for me." Sam grinned and added, "You are talented, and I believe you are enjoying this more than you are letting on." I chuckled at his joking remarks. Not everything he stated was incorrect. Allowing me to be seen felt both liberating and vulnerable. Then a recollection returned to me. It was something I hadn't considered in years due to my workload and commitments. "Do you think it's cool?" I made fun of her by crossing my arms and gave her a dirty expression. "You haven't seen anything yet." Sam lifted an eyelid, and his expression indicated his curiosity. "Oh, what more are you trying to hide?" I responded, removing my satin robe to reveal the dainty undergarments below. "I used to attend heel courses," I explained. I still recall a couple movements. His eyes widened in astonishment, and he took a large step back, waving his camera about. "Now you have to show me." "So be it," I said in a faux serious tone. "Don't dare to laugh." As I approached the silver pole, the atmosphere was filled with excitement. It had been years since I had done anything like this, but muscles retain memories. I took off my shoes, grabbed the pole, and climbed it effortlessly before arching into a spin. The fact that the movement seemed seamless demonstrated how much time I had spent on my technique. Sam stayed motionless, and for a little time, I forgot about his camera as I began to do a series of maneuvers. I forgot I still knew how to do it. A cartwheel, a fireman's spin, and a daring ascent up the pole. As I descended, the gentle red light reflected off the silver surface, and my steps were smooth and sure. When I finally struck the ground, I spun back to see Sam cheering loudly and smiling broadly. He came up to me and said, "Mom, that was amazing. Why didn't I realize you could do that?" I shrugged, out of breath yet excited. "That happened a long time ago. I enjoyed going to school before you were born. I had no clue I'd still own it." "Well, I'm officially impressed," he murmured, his voice softening as pride illuminated his expression. "Wow, you look stunning." I was startled at how honest his speech sounded. He leaned in closer, kissing my cheek. The warmth of his affection lasted just long enough to reach me. "You look fantastic tonight," he replied, stepping back to make place for me. "I really mean it." I was speechless for a second. The moment was profound because of his grin and the genuine respect in his comments. I expressed gratitude and adjusted the robe over my shoulders. "Thanks very much, Sam." As the music softened, I became conscious of how quiet the place had become. The world outside of his chamber seems distant and irrelevant. We were the only ones in this location, and our kinship was so profound that words could not express it. Sam grinned as he grabbed up his camera and held it up. "May I have one final shot? There's nothing spectacular, just you and the pole." I was on the fence, but his expression of encouragement made it difficult for me to say no. I leaned softly against the pole, allowing the robe to fall over my shoulders. I gazed at his eyes through the lens. When the flash went off, it captured a moment that I will never forget. He lowered the camera and remarked, "Perfect. Are you so excellent at it?" I chuckled and shook my head. "You're an excellent shot, in my view." He took a step closer, and his expression softened. He said, "Maybe, but I think you are expecting too much from me. Dear mother, you have always been distinctive. I'm simply fortunate to have seen it." His comments halted me in my tracks. Even though we were merely mocking one another, this moment seemed intense. We felt as if we had rediscovered a forgotten aspect of our connection. The evening gradually came to a close, and there was a pleasant, peaceful atmosphere. After Sam finally put his camera away, I was out of breath from my impromptu behavior, which we joked about over a late-night cup of tea in the kitchen. It seemed natural and effortless, as if the night had brought us closer. When I finally got into bed, my head was full with emotions: grief, happiness, pride, and something more I couldn't put my finger on. Sam had always been my everything, and the reason I got through the most difficult periods in my life. But today he offered me something I didn't realize I needed: a chance to live again. Everything would be good starting tomorrow. But before I fell asleep, I remembered the red light, the laughter, and the deep love between a mother and her kid. The home was quieter in the morning than normal. As the hours passed, I began to worry what Sam was doing since he hadn't come downstairs. He would usually be in the kitchen preparing coffee or fiddling with his camera right now. Instead, there was an unusual quiet, as if something had changed. I decided to go check on him since I was fascinated. As I climbed the stairs, I paused outside his door to listen. A low murmur and some delicate motions allowed me to detect the faint sound of his voice. I softly knocked, but I did not wait for anybody to respond. "Sam," I opened the door and yelled. When I realized what I had done, I came to a complete halt. He was on his bed, legs wide out and a camera in his hand. The screen had a dull light, and I realized immediately what the images were. Pictures from yesterday night. The photos of me with the satin robe and the gentle swirl of smoke were shot under a red light. When he heard my voice, he hurriedly turned around and switched the camera off. His face flushed scarlet, and he sat up swiftly, trying not to look at me. "Oh, mother," he stammered. "I did not hear your knock." I walked in and closed the door behind me. I told Sam in a gentle voice. It's okay to calm him down. Why did you hastily switch it off? I can see, as he gazed down at the scarcely audible murmur, "Here you go. Staff." I smiled softly and sat next to him on the bed's edge. "That photo was shot by you. Sam, I believe in you and want to see what you've captured." He hesitated for a time, his fingers becoming white as he gripped the camera hard. His face remained crimson, and the tips of his ears glowed red. But after a little pause, he took a big breath, nodded, and reluctantly handed me the camera. His gaze was fixated on the floor as he said, "I didn't mean to make this awkward. I simply wanted to make sure I did everything correctly." I gently picked up the camera, switched it on, and browsed the photos. Each image was gorgeous in its own way. He caught me in an unfamiliar light, a strange combination of beauty, strength, and gentleness. In several images, I was laughing so hard that my head swung back in genuine delight. In others, I was more serious and in charge, and the red light highlighted every detail. "Sam," I replied, my voice cracking as I glanced at the photos. "These are quite nice." He eventually glanced up, and his expression was a combination of fear and optimism. "Do you really believe that?" I looked him in the eyes and nodded. "Sam, you're quite gifted. That is how you view the world and how you see me." I have no words for it. He bit his lip in a bashful grin, and the stiffness in his shoulders eased a little. He replied in a gentle voice. I just wanted you to know how amazing you are. I want to thank you for all you've done for me. Mom, I put down my camera and softly squeezed his hand. Sam, you have already given me a lot. How much more do you know? We sat quietly for a minute, our emotions weighty yet comfortable, even if we didn't express them. When I glanced at him, he still had red cheeks, but his expression was vulnerable, demonstrating how much he had matured. I playfully teased you, and you blushed. To relieve the tension, he laughed softly and ran his fingers through his hair. I didn't expect you to stroll in when I was looking at them, he replied with a smug smile. As I handed him back the camera, I advised him not to be ashamed. That which you created is amazing, and I am really proud of you. He caressed my fingers with his while holding the camera near to his chest. He said, "Thank you, Mom," in a gentle but moving voice. "Thank you very much." I moved in close to kiss him on the cheek. Just like he had done the night before, his skin felt warm, and he grinned, his eyes sparkling with gratitude. I told Sam as I stood there, "You have a great talent. Never let anybody alter your viewpoint." When I left his room, I carefully closed the door. As I reflected on the occasion, a rush of euphoria and love washed over me. Powered by TurboScribe. AI, don't miss out on this opportunity.